Is today's dish Greek or is it Italian? Why can't it be both? I'm Chef Dan, and I'm almost vegan. So, I love spinach pie, and one of my first, I worked in some grocery stores in the very upscale delis, and one of my first experiences with spinach pie was that I had he wasn't mean, he was just very business-like manager who came to me one day after I had made a mistake in the kitchen and cost him about $600 for my mistake I made. Not going to get into the mistake, but I cost the company like $600. And he came to me and he said, you know, you cost the company $600. You're going to have to make that up. Somehow, I need you to make the company an extra $600. And I don't remember, this was a little while ago, so I don't remember how it came to me, but the idea was, I'm going to make a spinach pie because spinach pie it looks great, it looks healthy, it is healthy, and it's gained in popularity. And if I make a beautiful spinach pie, I think people will buy it, and I'll make back the $600. And I took it as a challenge. I was a little upset about how it was presented to me, but I took it as a challenge. I made a spinach pie. Awesome. And I've kept that recipe in my arsenal. The other recipe I love is lasagna, because you can do anything with it. You can fill it with almost any. So today what I'm doing is I'm taking these two of my favorite dishes and smashing them together, and we're gonna make a spinach pie lasagna. Now, I call my daughter, I tell her, you know, I run things by her. She's a 21-year-old, brilliant graduate student. And I said, hey, you know what I'm making? I'm making spinach pie lasagna. And her response to me was, hey, Dad, that's spinach lasagna. And it is, but it's got that little spinach pie flavor. I think you're gonna really like it. Okay, so getting right down to it. First thing I did was cooked my lasagna noodles. I made them a little al dente, okay? Al dente means that the inside of the noodle has a little bit of a bite still to it. Don't overcook it, because you want the lasagna noodles to kind of soak up some of the flavors of the filling. And if lasagna noodles are saturated with water, then they kind of let out water instead of soaking up water. So a little undercooked is perfect. They're still, as you can see, they're still very pliable, wiggly like a good noodle should be, but I have a little bit of a bite to the inside. First thing, we have to make like a sauce. The inside is going to be a little bit saucy, where traditional spinach pie has got egg in it and it's kind of firm, nothing is there to kind of hold it together. The pasta is going to hold this together. So we need to make it a little bit saucy. Not like a loose sauce, but a little saucy. So what we do is we use cashews and vegetable broth. And I soak this overnight. I think it's important to soak this overnight because I want to turn this into a creamy sauce. And if you don't soak it enough, you get the little granules of cashew in the sauce. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pour out some of the liquid, but not the cashews. Leave the cashews there. So you have about, cashews suspended in the liquid fully. There's just a little extra liquid if I need it to make this sauce the right consistency. This way I can kind of add to it if I need to add to it. Okay, I use a blender for this. There we go. Get that in there, that's good. And let's blend this. You're not gonna be able to hear me speak because it's a little loud, and that's okay. You don't hear me for the next 30 seconds or so because you won't be able to hear me over the blender. Okay, so this is now going to be nice and creamy and delicious. I took the excess water from the That's not water, actually, it's vegetable broth from the soaked cashews. I put it aside for now. If we need it later, we'll use it later. And now we have this thick and rich and delicious. This is a cashew milk, basically what it is. I used half a cup of cashews, and then I covered the cashews by about a good like 2 inches of vegetable broth. Give it a little extra flavor. Vegetable broth is a little bit more flavorful than using water, and so this has some nice flavor to it. And then you saw I took some of the broth out. So I just had enough broth in there just to cover the cashews, maybe by 1/4 of an inch, just so that there'll be enough broth to puree the cashews with. Pureed it into a nice creamy sauce, and then save the extra water or extra vegetable broth just in case. Just in case, okay. So, this is the start of our filling. Next we have spinach, okay? 2 12-ounce packages of chopped frozen spinach. Defrost them. I got this a couple of days ago, these spinaches, and threw them in my refrigerator. It takes 2 days to defrost in the refrigerator. Fine, you can leave it out overnight on the counter. Fine, but defrost them, squeeze them like crazy, and add them to your cashew milk. I add this first so I can kind of mix it in here and just kind of break up the spinach, because when you squeeze it, you're making like, it's like very dense pockets of spinach, so you got to kind of break them up. And you see it kind of looks like a cream spinach now, okay? Then we need some flavor. Finely chopped onion. Make them finely chopped because they're not going to cook that much in the oven, because it's in the middle of the lasagna, and the middle of the lasagna is not going to get so hot that it cooks them quickly. It'll cook, it'll just take a little while, but finely chopped, it'll cook quicker. Finely chopped. It's about half an onion. 2 cloves garlic. Chop that up nice and fine too. And we have here nutritional yeast. Usually in my spinach pie, I'll put a little bit of Parmesan cheese, nice. I'm going to add some cheese, but not Parmesan cheese, so I wanted to use a different kind of cheese that tastes like Parmesan cheese, but is totally, there's no cheese in it, and totally no dairy whatsoever in here. Nutritional yeast, great seasoning. It tastes like Parmesan cheese, but it's not. There's no dairy in here. It's made from yeast, a yeast product that comes from making yeast, and smells like Parmesan cheese. Okay, so half a cup of that is good. Then we're going to put in some fresh herbs, brightens it up. Okay, half a cup of parsley and about 3/4 of a cup of dill, roughly chopped is fine. Okay, mix this together. And you can see this is coming like a paste now, right? It's getting a little pasty. Here's where the extra water comes into play. Okay, so we're going to add this, not water, it's vegetable broth. We're going to add this vegetable broth to it, add it all back. Because we want this to be a little bit loose, like mashed, like this consistency of mashed potatoes, like that. The last thing we're going to add to this, and maybe the most important ingredient, is feta cheese. Okay, I have here about 12 ounces of feta cheese, or if you want to measure it in terms of cups, about 1.5 cups feta cheese, crumbled, very nice. And I'm mixing that all up. Don't forget to add a little bit of black pepper. I love my black pepper. I put about a good teaspoon of black pepper in there. You don't want so much black pepper, use a half teaspoon, that's fine. Salt, about 1/2 teaspoon. Not too much salt, because don't forget the feta cheese has salt in it, so gotta go easy on the salt. And there we have the filling for the lasagna. Very cool, very cool. For my spinach pie lasagna, or as my daughter would say, spinach lasagna. I love that girl. Before we use this, of course, we just got to give it a little taste. That is delicious. You know what's great about that? The herbs in there. The parsley and the dill. Wow. That just pops in your mouth. Fantastic. Okay. What pan to use? There's a lot of filling there, so you can use a regular lasagna pan. I like this. I like using these. Very difficult to burn anything in these. You know, even sometimes I'll put something in the oven and I'm doing something, and all of a sudden, oh my God, I forgot to set the timer or whatever. And in those aluminum pans, sometimes the disposable pans are excellent because you don't have to wash them. They're not excellent because things burn in them a little bit easier. Okay, this is a nice. It also comes with a nice lid, which is also very handy. Tomato sauce, and you're just going to use enough to just cover the bottom. Like cover the bottom generously. How's that? Okay. Now we get into a classic lasagna mode, and we're going to make this into a classic lasagna. What I mean by that is this. You take the lasagna noodles, and you go about halfway, and you fold it, you kind of drape it over the pan. So you're putting it halfway in, like that. So it goes halfway to the center, and then the rest just gets draped over the end. Okay, halfway in, and the rest gets draped over the end. This is going to take 4 sheets of lasagna noodles, going like that. And then the other side too. Don't forget the other side, right? You only have the lasagna noodles on half of this, so you need the other side too. You overlap it by maybe a half an inch or so, and drape the rest over the end. And that's good. Your filling, you know, I talked about the spinach filling, and it was really a nice burst of flavor in that spinach filling. That's important because the noodles will, I mean, I cook them in salted water, so they have some flavor, these noodles, but they will soak up a lot of flavor from your filling. And now I want to put about half of this filling on top of the noodles. And you see how easier this is, because with a classic lasagna, you have to put the meat in, you have to put the sauce in, then the cheese in, then the meat in. You know, here it's just, you have the filling, you're putting it right in there. I'm spreading it around to get it everywhere. You don't have to spread it around perfectly. I'll show you why in a second. Okay. And that's it. Now you put another layer of noodles on. And these noodles will be the other way. But this is not a perfect sized casserole for lasagna, so we have to cut the noodles a little bit. I don't want to, there we go. Once you get one the right size, you can put it on the table. You can take 4 more, like that. One more. And you can cut them all at one shot, the same size. There you go. And you can lay them in, going the opposite way. So you see the first noodles you put in went this way, the second noodles you put in are going to go this way. And whether you're making and these I overlap a little bit. Whether you make a classic lasagna or a vegetable lasagna or spinach lasagna or spinach pie lasagna, the technique of this, of how I'm doing this lasagna, is always the same. This I'm cutting a little bit shorter because it's like the end piece, and in this pan, unfortunately, the end is kind of like short like that. Okay, good. Now what you can do is give it a little press to get the filling all the way to the edges. What are we going to do next? Put the rest of the filling in there. And it really wasn't a big undertaking. It really wasn't that You know, you think of lasagna, you think of, oh, I got to spend like 4 hours making this. Not really. Okay, now what do you do? This is why you overlap the edges, because now you just simply bring the edges back. And the top, don't like force the edges, don't pull on the edges, just lay it on there nice. Like that, beautifully. And these will come across like that, beautifully. Okay, and then we need to cover the top with tomato sauce. There we go. And get all that covered nicely. Okay. Now, what I have to show you is a little trick I did while you weren't looking. I set aside a little bit of the chopped parsley and the dill and a little bit of the feta cheese, because when this comes out of the oven, I'm going to sprinkle that on top so it looks really nice. Presentation is everything. Okay, so all I do now is cover it up in the oven, 325 degrees, okay, because everything in here is really cooked. In a classic spinach pie, there's egg in it, raw egg in it, so you have to cook that longer at a higher temperature to make sure the egg is cooked. Here, you just want, everything's cooked, everything's fine. You just want to heat it lower and longer to a point that everything's kind of heated and the flavors are developed and everything's kind of blend together. So I'm going to put it in the oven, 325 degrees for an hour. I am back. It's been an hour. The whole kitchen smells like lasagna and like has a background smell of spinach pie. Really good. Good combination. Listen, it's both like Mediterranean-ish, so kind of goes good together. Okay, so out the oven it comes. Okay, and this is the best part. This is the best part. See that? See that steam coming off there? Woo, that's good stuff. Okay, now, before you serve this, it has to sit, it has to like set. Right now it's very hot and there's a lot of like liquid in it, and the liquid has to kind of distribute back into the dish and it'll set. It should sit for a good 20 minutes or so. So I'm just gonna let this sit for 20 minutes and I'm gonna come back and it's gonna be delicious. I am back and I cannot wait anymore. It's just to smell the fresh tomato sauce and the spinach, and it has that, you can smell the feta cheese, that salty, sweet, briny feta cheese. It's just fantastic. I'm gonna cut into this, take a taste, and then we go take a nap because this is so good. I have to just rest afterwards. Okay. And you can see it's set pretty good. It looks pretty good. And you can see, ooh, a little hot still. And you can see that it cut really nicely. You see that corner where it came out of? That's a good sign. That means that everything's set and everything's the right like consistency. So it's not too wet. It's not oozing all over the place. That's really good. I'm not using a knife on purpose because I want to make sure the pasta is nice and tender. Like it was a little al dente when I put it together, but now the liquid and all the seasonings inside and everything should have permeated into that pasta to make it softer and make it into like a whole casserole. Like everything has now come together. Okay. That is outstanding. The flavors have all come together. I was a little bit concerned that maybe the tomato sauce would kind of take over everything, but this is really outstanding. I can taste everything. Even the spinach, the fresh spinach, and all the seasonings, the onions, the garlic with the spinach. It's like a sauteed spinach. Tastes really good. And the cheese, the feta cheese, definitely with the salty brininess coming through. Wonderful. And then you taste that classic lasagna, the noodles with the tomato sauce. Great combination. Everything put together is a great combination. This worked out. This was really successful. Wasn't too sure at the beginning when I made it, and then I made it, and wow, this is just a great, great dish. Don't forget, I have this to put on top. I'll put it on top when I go to heat it up for dinner tonight. Just a little bit of garnish of dill and feta cheese, and we are set to go. I'm not gonna leave this here. This is not gonna stay here. I'm gonna eat this right now, and I will see you at the next video. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the recipe, please click like, make a comment. What do you put in your lasagna? Okay, and hit that subscribe button, ring that bell to get notice of all my videos, and I will see you at the next video. I'm Dan, and I am almost vegan. Delicious.